High Five Casino is the top choice for social casino gaming that's free to play. With chances to win and redeem for real cash prizes, free spin rewards, and tons of exclusive games, you can experience more high five moments than ever before. You're going to want to high five everyone. The neighbors, the mailman, all your coworkers, of course your friends. Well, you get the point. Your high five moment awaits at highfivecasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, what a week it's been. Winners of their last 3 series and 5 of their last 6 overall. Your Philadelphia Phillies are nearing the 20 games over 500 mark as they sit at 68-49. 5.5 games up in the National League East. Yes, that's right. We have crossed the 5-game barrier here in mid-August. That prediction did not last as long as I thought it would. Nevertheless, it was broken in the correct direction. The Phillies have gained so much ground in the last 2 weeks that it almost beggars belief. They've gained a total of, 7 games in the standings in a matter of 12 days or something crazy like that. The Mets are crumbling at the seams. The Phillies are playing with that renewed 2022 himbo energy, thanks to the import of Harrison Bader. Oh, and by the way, the guy who throws 102-mile-an-hour sinkers. Splitters, splinkers. I'm getting over a cold. You'll have to excuse me. The Phillies are playing really well right now, and there's very little to complain about. With that in mind, we are going to check our optimism, because that's what we do. We always like to keep it close to the median here. We never like to get too far in either direction. And so that's what we're going to do here. The Phillies are playing great, stipulated. They have great odds to make the playoffs, stipulated. If you look at Fangraphs, their odds to win the division right now are almost 90%. Stipulated. They're on a 93-94 win pace. Everything looks really good right now, save for a couple of things. So we want to check it. We want to make sure we're not drifting too far into utopia and losing sight of our true selves as Philadelphia fans. So we're going to do a little buy and sell, but I'm not going to do that alone. To help me do that, let me welcome in my co-host. He is the Athletics Phillies beat writer. He is not in Cincinnati this week. He is Matt Gill. Matt, hello. How was your weekend?
Terrific, Paul. So the Phillies are 68-49. And do you know what they were through 117 games last year?
Would it be 68-49?
69-48.
69-48.
But it's crazy that they're only 1 game off now of last season's pace. And this is obviously the time last year where, there were some holes in the whole thing. Right now, this time last year, they were finishing a series in Arizona. And then coming home, they got this week would have been last year when Valente Beloso, pitched like 5 scoreless against them, and then they had a quasi team meeting, and then went on a little bit of a streak. But really, I mean, they have caught up to last season's team, and which is remarkable because we all know how historic the start was for last season's team. This team has just steadily gotten there, and you're right, the play has been elevated, especially in the last week, but really in the last 2 weeks. I mean, they've played better. They've played good teams. They've beaten good teams. Those games were important for the Rangers over the weekend, and the Phillies, played crisp, solid baseball. I think that's what sticks out the most, right? Is that even in the Tigers series and the Orioles series, they haven't just pitched and hit well. It's like I feel like the quality of play, the bar has been elevated, and that shows up in the field too. I mean, I think defensively, this team, especially on the infield, has really, really improved.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Harrison Bader makes a home run saving catch, in Sunday's game, and the outfield has been better. I mean, like when you have Bader in center and Marsh in left, it's going to be better. But really, the infield sticks out to me, and then you have even behind the plate, Real Muto doing his thing, throwing guys out. So it just feels like the whole thing is in a good place right now, generally.
Yeah. It continues to amaze me. One of the things that I think has been under discussed. We have mentioned it because we're very thorough here. How quickly Trey Turner has turned around the conversation about is he, ready to move off of shortstop into nope.
100%.
He's good. I feel very good about him being shortstop here the rest of this year and next year. And I was not in this place at this time last year. So that's just that's one of those.
And it's not just the numbers; it's the eye test too. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
passed it. Every way you can evaluate a defender, it's not perfect, no doubt, but he's really elevated his game. You keep using that word, but I mean, he's been one of the best shortstops in baseball this year, and that's quite a thing to say, given where last season ended and where the conversation was at the beginning of the season.
So while many of the things are going very well, and a lot of the same things that got the team to this place to begin with, right? Starting pitching has been very good. The well-paid, high-profile hitters on this team are doing their thing. They're also getting some, I'll use your word, elevated contributions from guys like Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott. We do want to focus on one thing in particular, though, that at least for me, and I'm sure there are a lot of you out there too who felt this way when news came out in the middle of last week. Zack Wheeler went to get some imaging on his shoulder because he said it felt a little stiff or a little bit off. His start was pushed back a couple of days from Friday to Sunday. He started on Sunday. Looked pretty good, but clearly not 100% Zack Wheeler. There were some things that were kind of a clear tell that he wasn't operating at full capacity, but Zack Wheeler being Zack Wheeler, a compromised version of him, still finished with like almost 20 swings and misses or something like that. I don't know. He's crazy. But we're going to use Zack Wheeler to start off a little mini segment here. We're going to do a little buy and sell. We're going to see whether we buy what we're seeing from a few different topics on this team, whether we think it's real, whether we think it will change, whether we think it needs to change. We're just going to go through a couple of the hot button issues and see exactly where our temperatures are on this. Yours, of course, out there may vary, but we're going to start with Zack Wheeler because his health is of the utmost concern. There is no single player on this team that I think this team literally cannot live without, because I think there is enough talent to absorb the loss of just about anybody to an extent. But Zack Wheeler is about as close to an essential player as you can get, I think. Even with Christopher Sanchez's emergence, even with Ranger Suarez being there and Jesus Luzardo being, an elevated presence of his own. Elevated is the word of the day. Zack Wheeler, Zack Wheeler he's pretty important. And so on Sunday, with his delayed start, he was able to get through 5 innings. He threw 83 pitches. He did walk 3, and he gave up a first inning home run. The home runs have been up a little bit lately, but he did finish with 18 swings and misses in those 83 pitches. He only allowed those 2 runs in the first inning, 3 hits. Command was iffy, but he got through it. And now we wait and see how he gets through the recovery period to his next start. And Matt, the first question in this little buy and sell segment is, are we buying that Zack Wheeler is healthy enough to finish this regular season without needing to go to the injured list?
Sell.
Yeah, I might be there. Why are you there?
Well, he's made 156 starts in the regular season for the Phillies. Okay. And his average fastball, 4-seam fastball velocity in Sunday's outing was 94.2 miles an hour, and that ranked 153rd out of 156 starts he's made with the Phillies. And that's not everything. I understand that. And actually, I don't remember this, Paul, but like maybe I don't remember anything anymore.
Me neither.
Early last season, in March and April, there were a bunch of these starts. Like a lot of these starts at the bottom of the list, right? Of all of his starts at the Phillies, average 4-seam fastball velocity. A lot of them were at the beginning of last season. In the 94s, high 94s, right? For sitting there. And so like he's pitched with this before, and he's obviously shown that he can pitch with it and then also add to it. I just think there's a lot of concerning things here, and that's not to say that I think that he's seriously injured or severely injured, because if he was, or if he was anywhere near that, he would not have pitched yesterday. And I say this, and I know there's a lot of skepticism about this, but right now the Phillies have 0 pitchers on the injured list with arm injuries. I mean, they have done a really good job over the last few years of not just keeping guys on the field, but knowing when to pull back,
Yeah.
knowing how to handle pitchers. And again, they do not have it all figured out. And I know there's general skepticism about how any club talks about injuries, and I'm with the skeptics on that. I am highly skeptical about just about everything when it comes to the team's messaging. I don't know. I just feel like we'll see how he feels. Like they said, well, he only threw 83 pitches, which to me was another red flag, and he was on extra rest. And like, I get it. They wanted to get him out,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, like, that's so rare to see him throw, that few amount of pitches. It's the fewest pitches he's thrown in the start this season. It was the fewest pitches he's thrown in a start since, middle of last season when they peeled back on him before the All-Star break. So I know this. I mean, I wrote this last week when I wrote about Wheeler, and I citing team sources that, he had been pitching through, I wouldn't say pain, but just like some soreness, right? And he had been pitching through, and we all could see that he was off, right? I mean, we all could see that. We didn't need anybody to tell us that something was not right. But something was not right. But it was like he was pitching through it because it was just like deemed as like the normal soreness, a normal wear and tear of a season. And that's fine. And when it rose above that, he did tell the training staff, like, let's get this looked at. And so they've altered their treatment plan for him. He's really, his closest relationship with anyone associated with the Phillies is probably with Paul Buchheit, who is he's their head athletic trainer. I guess he got a promotion too. He's like their director of medical services or something like that, some fancy title. And he's very good. And him and Wheeler are tight. And, there's confidence that they can together figure this thing out. I feel like it's going to get to a point where he needs like a 2-week break. And that's easier said than done. I understand that because these games are important. And he wants to win a Cy Young. But I don't know. It just feels too obvious to like give him a break. But I don't know. I mean, like, he's very routine oriented. So to take him off his routine for 2 weeks, we all look at this and we say, oh, like, his fastball's not there. He's not feeling great. Just give him a break. Well, it's like, it's not always that binary, right? It's not always like, oh, if this injury you just need rest for this injury. Like, that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So maybe he just keeps throwing through it. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know either. And I do find myself wanting to find the right way to like think about what he's going through as a fan.
Well, you're trying to balance a bigger picture with the right now, right?
Yeah,
and that's hard to do. That is hard to do.
Yeah, because I mean, I do think back to 2022 when he missed a month. Got a couple of starts in before the playoffs, and he looked pretty good. He was efficient. He wasn't like as dominant as he had been earlier in the year.
He wasn't. I remember that. Remember that postseason. Later that postseason, he was compromised. Like, he needed extra days between starts. Do you remember that? Remember there was a rain out in the World Series, and it would have allowed the Phillies to bring him back a game earlier, but they didn't. Do you remember this?
Vaguely. I mean,
yeah. And then there was a reason why he came out and why they took him out when they did in Game 6 of the World Series, and maybe it was the wrong choice, but he was compromised. He was not healthy.
Yeah.
Even after that period of rest.
It's right. Like, there is no one size fits all. There is no rubber stamp for these things because it's human biology, right? Like, everybody is different. Everybody responds to different things in their own way. I have to put the trust in this medical staff and this training staff and support staff that has proven that it has earned that trust from me. We're talking about years now of keeping these pitchers healthy by and large. Like, there has been such a relative lack of pitching injuries that I have to attribute to the plans that, Buchheit and company and whoever is putting these things together, because it's working. Something that they have done, whether it's in tandem with, Cotham's adjustments to mechanics or usage and Real Muto's play, all of it coming together has created something that is allowing a lot of these guys to pitch and spend less time on the injured list. Yes, I know Aaron Nola's missed 3 months right now, but like you said, it's not for an
Oh, it's
arm
not an
injury.
arm injury.
Yeah,
No.
that's not for an arm injury. So it is a test of faith in that way because Zack Wheeler is so important. Again, if I speak in a cold, slightly cold manner, the Phillies are good enough that you should still believe they can make hay in a postseason if Zack Wheeler is unavailable. But you want to feel as good as you can about this team and their chances of making a run at a World Series, and you can't feel your best.
Oh, their biggest competitive advantage is their rotation.
Exactly. They have enough to absorb this. I would still believe in them.
Absorb it, I mean, sure,
Yes.
in the regular season, but I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about the postseason, I don't know. That seems
It strains faith more. It tests your belief in how much you actually think it can happen. And you don't feel good going into a series without Zack Wheeler, but if you, listen, we'll cross that bridge if we have to get to it. Right now, Zack Wheeler looks okay.
I have one more thought about Wheeler. Yeah, I have one more thought, if you'll allow me. He should throw his splitter more, and he finally did in Sunday's outing.
It looked really good.
It was the highest. It was the second highest usage of his splitter all year, by percentage wise. In the last, I don't know, 8-ish weeks, he's barely thrown it. I mean, like, he'll have starts where he throws it like 4 to 6 times, and he's thrown 110 pitches in those starts. It's a really good pitch, and I'm sure there's a reason why they haven't been throwing it as much. But I would like to see him use the splitter more. And it is a weapon it was something that they came up with for lefties. And it's funny because I was talking to Max Lazar last week about his splitter, which he's like, just decided to break out of nowhere, and he's using it only against the other team's best hitters to get a strikeout, apparently, which is very funny. But he said it came out of a conversation with Wheeler, and they've been talking about it. And he was like, it's funny because he's like, I think Wheeler's splitter, and other guys we've talked about, it's like, I think Wheeler's splitter is better against righties. And he's used it some against righties this year. It is a pitch, I think, that works on both sides. I think it is a pitch that he should use more. He's using it a little more than he did last year relative to last year, but it still ranks, I don't know, 5th among his current arsenal in terms of usage. Would like to see that rather than the cutter, which he's used a lot to lefties, and that cutter is just doesn't have the kind of action that I think consistent action that he wants from it. I'd like to see more splitters off instead of cutters.
Yeah, I could get down with that. I agree that it's a good pitch. I thought that looked probably the best.
I mean, it was really good. And like, credit to JT Realmuto is like, that probably wasn't in the game plan because it hasn't been in the game plan for weeks. But he's the first few that he threw and the swings that he got, JT's probably like, we're going to throw this more today. And he did. Yeah. And it was really good. It probably was the reason why he got through 5 innings.
I think I would also sell the idea of Wheeler making it all the way through to the end of the regular season just as a way, I think, of preparing myself for if when it happens. I would love to see him finish the year. I think he should go after a Cy Young award if he feels good enough to make a run at it again, for the 5th time in his 6 years here or whatever it is. But man, I don't know. Shoulder stuff, hearing shoulder stiffness, shoulder soreness always seems to worry me because it feels so like there is a tried and true method for going through forearm tightness / elbow ligament injuries. And it usually requires a lengthy absence, even if it avoids surgery. But at least you kind of know what you're getting into when you have a severe injury in that area.
Shoulders are generally considered worse than elbows.
Yeah, it opens up weird doors mentally for me when I hear shoulder, and I'm just like, ugh. So I grimace a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that they went and sent him for an MRI, and they looked at the MRI, and they didn't see any structural damage, and they also apparently didn't see a way that if he kept pitching that he would increase, the percentage likelihood of a major injury, because if he would, then they would have stopped him from pitching.
I would think
I,
so.
you know, you're right. I mean, you have to put trust that they're doing the right thing here, and they have demonstrated that they do. But um, it just seems like everyone could benefit from a break at some point. I'm not saying it should happen right now, but there's a lot to think about here, and a lot will depend on how he feels, coming out of the start. And that's something that we don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. So the next couple of days will be very interesting, and we'll see how Zach looks the next time he takes the bump. All right, next up, we have another topic here to buy or sell, and that is regarding the second base position. Namely, Mr. Bryson Stott, who he's found some old form. He is looking rejuvenated. He is looking lately like the guy from 2023 who was on the cusp of really breaking out and jumping to the top level of second baseman in this league, something that has eluded him for the last year and a half. In his last 16 starts, that's 19 appearances overall, Stott has an 884 OPS. In his last 2 weeks, he's hitting 367. Now, there's not a lot of power to come with that because there's usually not a lot of power from Bryson Stott. But the simple fact of the matter is he's putting the ball in play and he's getting results from it. His season line, still not great. It's an 84 OPS plus, 672 OPS overall, 40 walks to 71 strikeouts and 409 plate appearances. But he's 19 for 22 in steals, so he's still doing the base running thing. And now he's getting a couple more hits to fall. Had a really nice series in Texas with 5 hits. Matt, I think it's time to ask if we are buying or selling Bryson Stott on the verge of a rebound and recapturing some of that old form.
Probably a sell here. And that's not to I'm going to sell with a caveat. I think that he's just about gotten back to, he's essentially what he was last season at the plate. And I think his this season up to this point was a disappointment, and it was underperformance. I think now that he's gotten generally back to where he was last year, I think this is about what he is.
Okay.
And I'll say this, I think his second base has been fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I don't think some of the advanced metrics are giving him enough credit. I think on the eye test, he's really, really upped his game at second base, and credit to him for doing that while not performing at the plate. I think he's had some at bats of late against lefties that are encouraging, especially in with runners in scoring position or 2 strikes or 2 outs. Like, he's had some big hits, even if they're just singles. That's fine. They've been big hits. I generally think though, Paul, that the overall version of his season now, which looks a lot like last season, is probably what he is.
Well, I also want
you should. I mean, I think there's a good case to buy.
Sure. And I think back to mid-May of this season where he strung together, a few multi-hit games in the middle of the month. He hit really well on the road. I'm looking back on it. He had a good series in Tampa. He had a good series. Well, he had a really good game in Coors where he went 3 for 6. Had another multi-hit game against the Athletics. And it was at that point where, he was also hitting the ball hard and seeing results. Like, that was good, and it was getting backed up. But lately, or at least in the aftermath of that, the hard hit stuff kind of dropped off again. And you're like, why? Like, where did that go? Can we get that back? He has gotten it back. He's hitting the ball harder now in this last recent stretch than he has all season. The key is going to be, can he maintain that, especially while there's going to continue to be some kind of playing time juggling? You would think that even when Alec Boehm comes back and resumes third base, that Edmundo Sosa is going to see some time against left-handed starters at second base. Yeah. So there's going to be some irregularity here. And the challenge is going to be, can Bryson Stott continue to build on what he's done in the last few weeks, recapturing some of that offensive play, feeling more comfortable, whatever it is exactly that's got him squaring the ball up more? Can he maintain that as Alec Boehm returns? And he's on rehab assignment with Lehigh Valley, so his return is coming up. That's going to be the challenge, I think, because he's not going to be playing every single day. Mundo Sosa is still playing well enough that he's going to get some looks against left-handed starters, you would think. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for me. I'm very happy that he's hitting the ball hard again, that he's getting some results, that the ball is dropping for him. I think the circumstances around this will be more of an effect on what could hold him back from finishing the season really strong in the way that he's been playing lately than anything about, his game necessarily. I think he might be a victim of circumstance over these last 6 weeks more than anything. Maybe that's giving him a built-in excuse. I don't know, but I just see that irregular playing time coming up and looming as something that could hold him back a bit.
Certainly. And he's made some adjustments to the plate, mechanically, and maybe that's what you point to as a buy and say, hey, ever since he's made these adjustments, he's hitting for more extra bases. We're seeing less of that, that swing, that ugly swing that just gets a shallow fly out to left field, which is the worst result for him. So I'm going to sell, but I think he's been productive for them, especially on defense, and they've needed it. So he still, to me, profiles as a guy at the bottom of the order who's probably going to be a little below league average at the plate.
Yeah. Moving on to the outfield side of things, Harrison Bader has arrived, and he's looked interesting. His numbers at the plate have not really yet translated, but he certainly made his impact felt in the field, robbing Corey Seager of a home run yesterday, being chief among them during Sunday's game. Harrison Bader has arrived, and with his long flowing locks of blonde hair, has rekindled memories of the himbo energy that fueled 2022's lovable band of scamps on their improbable run to a National League pennant. I don't know. Maybe that was the punch in the arm that this team needed. As good as they were, something about this team just felt kind of like on autopilot. And now this trade deadline has come and given them, the hardest throwing human being in the world in the back of their bullpen. And, the guy who is, I don't know. It's something unquantifiable that powered 2022, and maybe a little bit of that has re-entered the mix in the form of Harrison Bader. Now, Harrison, of course, is sharing time in the outfield. There is, much like second base with Edmundo Sosa, Bryson Stott, there is a bit of a juggling act happening in the outfield. We have Max Kepler, we have Brandon Marsh, we have Nick Castellanos. Add in Harrison Bader, and that's 4 outfielders for 3 spots. And of course, designated hitter is already taken. Matt, I think the larger question here is, and of course, Bader has, he's got a 150 average for whatever that's worth. He's 3 for his first 20. He does have a couple of walks, and he's been hit by a pitch. So, base 261. He had that 3-run home run at home during his first year. It's early. It's his first 2 weeks with the team offensively and defensively. What do we think about Harrison Bader's place in this outfield mix? Do we buy or sell the outfield plan that for now seemingly continues to include Max Kepler in left field, who we thought was, probably on his way out, but he's hit the ball a little bit harder lately too. I am thrown into uncertainty, Matt. So I'm interested to hear what you think of the outfield plan, such as it is, and this continuously extending 6-day evaluation period for the outfielder mix.
I guess a buy. I think the most hilarious quote that came out of the weekend, and Charlotte, my colleague, was down in Texas writing about the Phillies all weekend, and she talked to Dave Dombrowski, who I'm gonna read you this quote.
Okay.
And it made me laugh. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
To me, I'm not so sure why everybody keeps talking about the outfield because it's been doing okay. Phillies president of baseball operations, Dave Dombrowski, said, "It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me who plays where or who plays versus who, as long as they do well."
Well, sure. What?
Everybody's wondering, why are they talking about the outfield?
Why? Stop talking about the guy I paid $10 million to have a 660 OPS.
They rank 23rd right now in outfield OPS, and I know that's not always the best way to measure it, but it's better, I guess, than it was. I mean, since July 1, they rank 23rd. Since August 1, they rank 9th. I mean, it's been better since the trade deadline, and a lot of that is because of Brandon Marsh. Certainly not a lot of it is because of Nick Castellanos, and I think
No.
I guess I'm buying the outfield alignment because they're not going to talk about right field, and if they're not going to talk about right field, then this is probably the best way to handle center and left.
Yeah.
I understand the idea that Bader isn't necessarily an everyday guy. I don't necessarily agree with it. I guess I think I would just let him run around center field and, hope he runs into a few balls against righties, which he seems capable of doing. He's a tremendous outfield defender, and it's basically, it's a big upgrade from Rojas. I mean, the idea was that, the last 2 trade deadlines before this year is like, oh, we're going to ride, we're really going to lean into the Rojas Marsh thing. We'll get a platoon partner for Marsh and we'll just, let this ride. They got to me, a better overall version of Rojas because maybe Bader is not as elite of a defender as Rojas, but he's still pretty good and he's a much better hitter. He certainly can hit for power more than Rojas can. So I would be inclined to just ride Bader in center, and if you want to still platoon Marsh and left every now and then against a tough lefty, fine. Totally understand that. And I think that's reasonable. I don't know. I mean, if they want to give, like they did against DeGrom, if they want to give Castellanos, maybe 1 or 2 more days a week off against a tough righty and have Kepler playing right, I'm all for that. I think that would be smart. One, it prevents Castellanos from just running himself into the ground, which I think there's an element of that. I know there's a lot of pride in playing every day, but it's hard to do. And especially at further into your career, it's even harder to do. So he's been below replacement level, just about any way you look at it. And so, yes, I think there should be a bigger conversation about that. But absent that, like I guess this arrangement is fine. I mean, you want to keep all your options around, I suppose. And Kepler has hit the ball harder. That hit against DeGrom was huge. I mean, what a moment for Kepler, like big time hit.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's hitting the ball harder. I mean, like the averages are in June, he hit the ball harder than he has hit it all season, 93 miles an hour average. July, 89. August, 89. He's got more results.
Or Kepler?
No, this is Kepler.
Kepler.
Like they've talked about, he's hitting the ball hard, and he has. He's hit it more in the air, I think, has been the biggest thing. But it's not like there's just, it's not like there's something that's sticking out and being like, oh, like he's so much better and he's just not getting these results. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, look, here is just a real sharp, stark truth, and it's Nick Castellanos' number since the start of July. He's hitting 203 with a 230 on base and a 339 slug, with 30 strikeouts against 4 walks. That's kind of his typical ratio, and 122 plate appearances. He's got 5 home runs. That's not good.
That's a problem.
That's not good. Look, and he's doing his chase thing more. I'm looking at his rolling, swing rates here using some of the Fangraphs tooling. And in June, he went back to being a little bit more selective, but basically in the last month and a half or 2 months, he's doing his hacking thing again. He's just up there being overly aggressive, and he's making a lot of his at-bats uncompetitive. And I think that's what's bothering me a lot lately is if he's going to be a fixture in the lineup, and it appears he's not going to be moved out of the lineup regularly. Like you said, right field is not going to be part of the conversation, really. He's got to be a little bit better at the plate, especially as somebody who has insisted he should play in the field all 9 innings every day. He's got that confidence in his abilities. Okay. I like that, but it has to be backed up by something. the defense has fallen off. I used to think of him as like below average but competent out there, and I think it's slipping a little bit more as he gets later into his career. He's he's just the at bats just aren't there. Like there's a lot missing from the total package right now, and having that be, in the fourth, fifth, or sixth spot in your lineup every day. The team currently in this stretch has been succeeding in spite of him, not because of him. And if he is going to if he's not going to be relieved of that in some form or fashion, it's not good. And you don't want to have a team succeeding in spite of something. Like a month and a half of this, of a 230 on base from one of your mainstay hitters, is just not.
While being one of the best, while being one of the worst defenders in baseball, do you think that's bad?
It's just not good enough. It's not good enough.
You ride. I mean, this is a Castellanos. This is what they'll say. I mean, you ride the highs with the lows. You got to ride it out. But
sure,
I don't necessarily agree with their approach to how they've handled it. And like, if he and that's the thing, is like, we talked about this on a recent pod, I think, is that like production in the outfield now matters a little more because there are more options, right? And like before, they were willing to ride guys, like just let guys be and just, hey, it's a long season. We'll, we believe in this guy. But now you get into August and now you've got, like you said, 4 guys for 3 spots, or at the very least 4 guys for 3 guys for 2 spots. I don't know.
Yeah.
Production does matter. I mean, like if you get a spell here where you're not producing, like you might lose playing time. And I think that should apply to everybody in the outfield.
Yeah.
And credit to like Brandon Marsh, for example, who like I thought in the middle of the season was a guy who really was not giving them anything, wasn't hitting for power, was not playing a good center field. And he has really started to unlock something. He's driving the ball. He's doing damage against righties, which is exactly what he's there for. In left field, he's just so much better. He's a left fielder, right? I mean, like he's just so much better in left field. And now you start to look at the bigger picture, Paul. Remember, he didn't have a hit in April, and he was hurt too. But there's 73 outfielders with 200 plate appearances since May 1st.
Okay.
And he ranks 19th in OPS, 19th out of 73. It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
That's the closest thing they've had now to an outfielder who has both hit and fielded well at the same time, which, really they haven't had very much.
It's wild to think about, isn't it? Just that simple description.
Yeah, wild is one way of describing it, sure. I credit to him. I mean, like he's really put himself back in the picture here, and to the point where, like, should he be just playing every day? Like, I don't know. I mean, like, that's certainly, you can make a better argument for Brandon Marsh to play every day than Nick Castellanos to play every day. Can you not?
As of late, absolutely. And I mean,
I know what Marsh's numbers are against lefties. They're not great, but
yeah,
he at least gives you plus defense in left field if he's playing every day.
Here's one thing I've been wondering, just to cap off the outfield part of this. Is it actually working to the Phillies' advantage to have as much of a flexible plan around platoons as they do? Like, I look at it as almost during the regular season, it can be kind of a confusing jumble of how do you ask Rob Thompson to manage all of this and make it work and keep everybody happy and make sure everybody stays fresh while matching all these handedness things and this, that, and the other thing. But going into the stretch run and potentially into the playoffs here with, guys who can combat this platoon disadvantage in the ways that they can it actually be used to their advantage in this way? Maybe.
I don't know, but I think, I think that the way to answer that is very simple for me. Is game 1 of the NLDS, Paul, you're facing a really good right-handed pitcher. What is your outfield?
That would probably have to be Marsh in left, Bader in center, Castellanos in right, assuming he cannot be moved out of there.
Yeah. So there you go. You just answered it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
All right, cool. All right, so those are 3 of our planned 6 topics. We will pause right here to give you a chance to brace for a quick ad break, and we'll catch you on the other side. Hello. Thank you for hanging with us as we pay the hosting bills. This is Phillies Therapy, in case you forgot. We're doing a buy or sell segment We're talking about a couple of things in relation to the 68 and 49 first place in the National League East Philadelphia Phillies, your Philadelphia Phillies. Currently, as we sit here recording this on Monday morning, the Phillies are beloved by the projection systems, not just to make the playoffs, but to get there in a fairly comfortable position. Think about this. Chew on this for just a second here. Right now, on Baseball Reference, the Phillies' odds to make the postseason are listed at 99.3%. To win the division, 94.2%. You go over to Fangraphs. The Phillies are currently listed to make the playoffs 99.3%, and to win the division at 90%. They're almost 50-50 odds to get one of the top two seeds and get a bye. Now, of course, they have to deal with the unbelievably nuclear hot Milwaukee Brewers and the Los Angeles Dodgers, among others. Like, this is not a cut and dry thing here. But right now, the Phillies are playing well. The Mets are absolutely disintegrating. They are playing very poorly lately. Just very poorly. There's no other way to put that. And the fabled 5-game barrier that I thought back in, what was that, late June, early July, that I thought the Phillies and Mets would be just in this boomerang dance. They would just orbit one another and never drift farther apart than 5 games in either direction. Well, that's already over. It's 5.5 games, and the Phillies are up. Matt, those are some big numbers, starting with 9s in terms of probabilities there.
Yeah, prospectus is at 90 also.
Yeah, those are big numbers, and that's consensus agreement among 3 major projection systems. So I guess the question is, humans versus computers now. Are we buying or selling that this division race is just about over here on August 11th?
I think I'm buying.
Okay, all right. Tell me why.
And they have a lot. They have quite a few games left between each other.
Of course.
The reason simply I'm buying is because I think the Mets rotation situation is bordering on dire.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to be a major issue for them for the remainder of the season. And I do think they'll get into the playoffs. I do. I think they'll be a wild card. And also, it's very possible they're playing the Mets and the Phillies are playing the Mets in a wild card series. It's certainly possible. If the Phillies are the 3 and the Mets are the 6, I mean, that's very possible.
Yeah,
if you're simulating right now, that's very possible, which would be entertaining as hell. I think the Mets rotation situation is why this division is close to being over. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying that the Phillies have won it. But the Mets have put a lot of eggs in the Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes basket.
Yeah.
And Manaea is pitching with bone chips or spurs in his elbow and clearly is affected by it. They really have not let him go deep into games, and he's not been able to go deep into games. And he is an extremely important pitcher for them, given what he did last year. Just not the same guy. Is unable to throw off-speed pitches. Has not thrown 90 pitches yet in a start this season. Has not gotten to 6 innings in a start yet this season. So Clay Holmes was a reliever for his whole life until this year. Has been fine, right? I think he's been really solid for them as like a number 3. Gotta feel like he's running out of innings at some point. He's already doubled his innings from last year. He's doubled his innings from each of the last 3 years, basically. I mean, he's never thrown this many innings in his life in a season.
Yeah.
And Senga, again, high pitch counts, cannot get deep into games. I do expect the Mets are going to call up one of their many big-time pitching prospects who are at AAA. Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean. They just moved a guy up named Jonah Tong, who's, I'm sure I'm not saying his name right, but he's a really, really big-time pitching prospect. They moved him from AA to AAA. I think Sproat or McLean are going to get into the rotation somewhat soon. But you're asking a young pitcher to come into a pennant race and give them length from the get-go. I don't know. I mean, maybe they do. I think that's a risky bet to be making. So, while I think the Mets had a great trade deadline, I thought their reliever pickups were really, really good. they put an immense strain on that bullpen. Uh, and I don't see how they get to the finish line with the current pitching staff they have. I think they're going to get in the playoffs, but I just have a hard time seeing them overtaking the Phillies at this point.
The Mets have not had a starting pitcher record an out after the 6th inning since David Peterson in the first game of a doubleheader on July 10th at
wild.
Baltimore. It has been over a fiscal month since the Mets had a single starting pitcher. And Peterson is just about the only guy to even finish 6th just in general.
For like the last 2 months.
Yeah. I'm looking at this right now. He is literally, in my best Chris Traeger voice, he is literally the only Mets starting pitcher to finish 6 innings in that time span. He's done it 4 more times since that 7-inning game. You know how many times a Phillies starting pitcher in that same time frame has recorded at least an out in the 6th inning, not to mention all the extra outs they've gotten on top of that? It's 8 times.
Wow.
Now that adds up. That adds up. That saves
really
your saves your bullpen from exposure, from wear, all this stuff. And it's not. I looked back on this a couple of weeks ago, and I think anybody who's locked in on the Discord would remember this. When I looked at the Mets pitching situation going back a couple of weeks, I'm like, this is going to hold this team back from really doing anything. This is going to be what keeps them from being at best third in the wild card. And I said this while they were leading the division, because this is the kind of thing that doesn't happen overnight, but slowly and eventually starts to take over a team. And we're seeing that happen now. If you can't get depth from your starting pitching, especially at this rate, at this incredible rate of attrition that they've had, which is really what you can call it, that adds up. You're seeing guys get hurt, possibly as a partial result of this.
But this is the David Stearns way. And in Milwaukee, he made it work, especially during regular seasons, right? I mean, when Stearns was in Milwaukee, they did not invest in rotation, and they cobbled it together. And for some reason, and it was working earlier this season, if you recall. I mean, when the Mets, their bullpen was off the charts and they were clearly overperforming, I think we all could see that. But they were making it work. They were putting it together. They were calling up a new guy every day and shipping out bullpen arms and moving guys around. And for some reason, that Stearns plan is not translated to New York.
Good.
Oh, that's mean. So this whole conversation, we talked too much about this, but I would distill it down to one thing. This is rotation walk rate. Okay. Phillies ranked 4th in baseball. The Mets ranked 29th.
Oof. I mean, I knew it was high. I didn't know it was next to last high. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. You can't. One of the reasons I always look at strikeout to walk ratio, whether that's per 9 or percentages, K percent minus walk percent, all that stuff. To me, it is one of the very clearest indicators broadly of whether somebody's performance is real, whether you can actually trust that what they're doing is going to be quality moving forward. And I look up and down this Mets staff, not just the rotation, really. The rotation not getting depth is absolutely hurting them. But now it's the whole staff, basically, that just cannot get that ratio balance.
Yeah, and this is a snapshot in time, right? Where the Phillies are playing as well as they've played all year. The Mets are playing as poorly as they've played all year. And so
absolutely,
do not allow that to skew how you feel. I just think that in the last 7 weeks of this season, even if the Phillies regress a bit and the Mets play a little better, I just think that there are real barriers to the Mets overtaking the Phillies at this point.
Yeah. I think one of the very few things, I'm looking up my receipts for the Discord. I said this on June 19th about the Mets.
Wow.
Just to get that out there. Sorry, pat myself on the back. I don't do that nearly enough. So if Zack Wheeler is significantly hurt, if something else goes wrong in the rotation, we could see a little bit of that rubber banding, right? And the Phillies could fall a little bit back to earth.
Yeah. And, they have 7 games still, right, left against the Mets. Is that right? 3 in New York and 4 at home. Do I have that right?
So I believe that's correct. They still have the Mets.
The other thing I mentioned too is the Mets. The Mets September is rough. A
in
lot
terms
rougher than
of
the
schedule.
Phillies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, well, yeah, and the Phillies wrap up those 7 games with the Mets by September 11th. So by this time next month, that chance for the Mets to directly pick up ground if they are still trailing by that point, that'll be it. And then they lose control of their own destiny from that point. That's a lot of runway. Where the Phillies going for a landing with the AL Central Brigade, the Royals, the Dodgers, who may or may not still be fighting for position, the Diamondbacks, who are out of it, the Marlins, who have been playing better but are out of it, and the Twins, who are also weirdly playing better but are also out of it. That's an easier landing for the Phillies. The Mets are running out of runway. They've got to make a move. They've got to right the ship
They're going to
now.
bring up one of these guys. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll
And they're good
see what happens.
prospects. Yeah.
Sure. I've heard their names a lot, and they're worth respecting, right? And you're not going to thrust an arm into the mix of something like this with such important games coming up if you don't believe that they can immediately contribute something, or else you're just pulling an emergency
Yeah, I mean, the
break glass
Frankie
kind of situation.
Montas thing seems like
No, he's
time's up. And that was a 2-year deal. I mean, do you
yeah,
just eat it? They might.
I don't know. It was thankfully not our problem. We've got enough. We've got enough potentially dead money for 2026 to worry about on our own. Yeah, look, I am very happy. I would be remiss to say if I wasn't happy that the Phillies have pulled so far ahead in such a short span of time. They've got to finish the job. But really, it is a shrinking window for the Mets to make this move. Like, they have lost so much ground so quickly with really a month left of time to directly
Yeah.
impact their deficit on the Phillies.
45 games left.
Like, yes, that's in total. And then you shrink it a little bit because, like we said, those 7 games between the Phillies and Mets head to head, that's it. September 11th is the last one. So they have 7 chances.
And one of the best things going for the Phillies right now is that they have 7 of their next 13. No, I'm sorry, 7 of their next 13 against the Nationals.
Against the Nationals, right, who have a couple interesting, guys on the offensive side of things, but continue to not be able to pitch. Mackenzie Gore is even starting to fall off a little bit. Like that's another time for the
Make some hay.
Yeah, absolutely right. So it looks good. I can understand why.
What's going to be when they 2 Mondays from today? The Phillies are in New York. What's the gap going to be? Putting you on the spot.
I'm going to say 6.
Okay.
I don't know if the math exactly works out to have a half game.
Well, I think today I know that today the Phillies play and the Mets don't, so they'll
Okay.
finally get rid of that half game
Yeah,
for now.
is that the game at hand? Okay, I'll say 6.
Yeah.
I'll say 6.
All right.
Which is, that's where you want to be with the 3-game series coming up. I think it's going to be good. Somewhere somebody's going to give them trouble. Cincinnati's playing pretty well lately. Maybe the Nationals are pesky.
The Phillies are playing a National League team tonight for the first time in 29 days.
That part is weird. Oh, like, why was there so much interleague play stitched together like this? I barely even noticed it until you pointed it out a few days ago.
Totally bizarre.
Yeah, it's strange. Anyway, all right, they're coming back. The Phillies are in good position in the middle of August here. The projections love them. The strength of schedule is in their favor. The Mets pitching situation is bordering on dire. We'll see if it all plays out that way. But right now,
all right, one more topic. There's 2. I think we had 2 more, but let's just pick one. I forget I know what one of them was. What was the other one?
Yeah, no, okay. I think it's more behooving to talk about the starting rotation broadly and the plan for it moving forward as it relates to every candidate, right? We started out this year and early part of the spring and early part of the summer thinking about what the rotation would look like as the dog days hit, as the Phillies thought about potentially gearing up for a playoff run and making sure everybody was fresh. Now there's been a bit of a complication, as there always is, because this is baseball. Jesus Luzardo has bounced back from his very rough ERA destroying run of 2 starts in the middle of the season to be, competent again. Zack Wheeler, obviously, as we've talked about, has his shoulder discomfort that he is pitching through. Christopher Sanchez looks amazing. No notes there right now. Remember when we were worried about his forearm a couple of months ago? That's faded into the rearview mirror. Ranger Suarez is also doing his thing. Taijuan Walker has been very competent in a starting capacity. Aaron Nola will be coming back, although it's TBD what actually will be received from him. And of course, there's Andrew Painter, who is not performing in AAA and does not look ready to make his major league debut, if we're being totally frank. I think a lot was put on his shoulders, potentially unfairly. I don't really. It's been kind of a conflict of messaging around him, considering this is always what could have happened. A 22-year-old on his first year back from Tommy John surgery, fighting through it a little bit in AAA. Which is exactly what he's done. He has made now 16 starts with the Iron Pigs. His ERA is over 5. The strikeouts are there, but not to the dominant level that they were. The walks are way up as far as Andrew Painter is concerned. He's giving up home runs. Really, he just looks like a guy who's trying to figure it out, which would not make him ready for a major league pennant chase. But
maybe for a spot start, but yeah, probably not.
Yeah. But that's just it. Now, the Phillies still have the health of their rotation to think about. So much of what we just lambasted the Mets for over the last, couple of minutes hinges on the Phillies actually following through and maintaining that advantage. And that involves keeping their guys fresh and healthy in the rotation. Now, potentially, Painter could work in there. He could make a spot start. He could form into something of a 6-man rotation. Or maybe that's Taijuan Walker for a couple turns in the 6-man when Nola comes back. There's a lot of balls in the air to be juggled here. Matt, I would like to get a pretty broad buy or sell take from you on this, and it's whether the Phillies need to go to a 6-man rotation, whether they will go to a 6-man rotation, and if Taijuan Walker is the better option for that over Andrew Painter.
I think going to a 6-man makes a lot of sense in the interim. I don't think it's something they should do for the remainder of the season. I do think if you're talking about the 6-man rotation, really you need to have a bigger conversation about the bullpen, especially until for the next few weeks until you get to the expanded roster in September. In September, you get a 14th pitcher, and it's a little easier logistically to run a 6-man bullpen. But for the rest of this month, if you're running a 6-man rotation, that means you have a 7-man bullpen. And it means that 2 of those 7 in the bullpen need to be multi-inning guys who you're willing to let wear, either a big deficit or a big lead. Because you don't want to have to use your quote-unquote leverage guys, in lopsided games either way. And when you have a shorter bullpen, and a lot of guys that you consider to be leverage arms, you're going to have to use some of those guys in lower leverage spots. So I think it's going to come down to whether they think they can pull it off in the bullpen. I think, Nola's going to make one more start. The plan currently is Nola to make one more start. He's going to Buffalo with the Piggies. He'll pitch Tuesday night in Buffalo, and then he will join the Phillies Thursday in DC. And he's set up to either pitch that final Sunday in DC or the Monday game against the Mariners at home. And I believe he'll start one of those games. So the question then becomes, do you keep Taijuan Walker in the rotation? Is Zack Wheeler going on the injured list? I guess there's a couple different doors now, but if they do want to continue pitching Wheeler, then I do think that going to a 6-man is a real possibility here. Keeping Walker in it, at least for 1, maybe 2 turns through. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, Walker has pitched generally well enough. He's been a fine 5th starter. I think that's the best way I can describe Taijuan Walker right now. He has been a fine 5th starter. Do you agree?
Yes. He's
been fine. It's been very Kendrickian, which again is a compliment.
Ooh, I like that as an adjective.
Right? But it's very Kendrickian. It really is. Not a lot of strikeouts, a bunch of home runs, but generally results somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to explain Kyle Kendrick for those of you who might not remember him. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to do that, but I do. It's Kyle Kendrickian.
So, and remember, this was the time last year where they're like, can anyone here pitch 4 innings as a starter, as a 5th starter? Remember that? Remember that time last year?
Sure, absolutely.
So this is a nice thing that they might have, 6 competent major league starters. I'm buying it. I think I'd go to a 6. but I don't know that I would do it very long. I think I might try to do it 2 turns through. What do you think?
It's a very good problem to have. It's a very good problem to have. I think it does make some sense to do it for a couple of turns while the current situation that we have around, Wheeler's potential health, Nola's return to starting as he, builds back up. Luzardo, even though he's been a bit more effective recovering from those disaster starts, is still doing the high pitch count thing early on. So, it's
Yeah, I actually thought his start against the Rangers, and the Rangers are not a great barometer right now. What happened to the Rangers? I don't understand. But I thought what was impressive to me was Luzardo pitched with traffic for the majority of that outing and found a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And he managed to keep the pitch count, reasonable, right? He's finished 6+ innings in his last 3 starts now. He got to 90 pitches at the White Sox. Again, not the best barometer. Baltimore. Well, all right. So maybe it's been a nice reintroduction to being more efficient with 3 straight starts going against White Sox,
Sure.
compromised Baltimore and Texas, which surged for a bit. But yeah, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, the Texas thing to me was more about the situations that he put himself in, and he was able to pitch with traffic, with runners on base, and he pitched through it.
Yeah. So I do think I would be on board with a couple turns of 6-man, and I would leave Painter out of it. I was looking forward to his debut for a long time, but in his current state, it doesn't make a ton of sense to have him be the guy fixed in for 2 or 3 turns like that. Like, could he make a spot start as you said? Sure, and I still look at that with curiosity and some excitement. But Andrew Painter in his current state, and this is separating halves of an argument here. Andrew Painter in his current state is, to me, not major league ready. That does not diminish his stock as a pitching prospect. You're probably going to see him fall a couple spots on prospect rankings and things like that are going to come out in the offseason. I don't actually think Painter's star is dimmed all that much. We've seen him struggle in AAA here. He is still just 22. He is working back from major arm injury. And
yeah, I mean, two things can be true. This season has been disappointing, and also he still remains to be a very big and important and solid piece for the future.
Absolutely.
But it's been disappointing. It's been disappointing that he's not trending toward not being a contributor this season.
Yes, it is. With sights more, set for him on regular contribution in 26, we'll tackle that over the offseason. For now, he's just got to finish the year healthy, and I think that can be considered a win. Maybe we'll see him make a debut. Maybe we won't.
It's not the worst idea to give him a spot start this year, to give him the debut, right?
No,
he's got to pitch a little better to get that nod.
You got to
in September.
You got to feel like he's not going to go out there and get shelled out after 2 2/3 innings, right? Like you don't want to do it. You've built up a good thing with all this padding around the bullpen that we've just been talking about with the starters going deep. You don't want to spend all of that right away. Like maybe you time it so it comes before an off day or after an off day so guys are fresher. I don't know. I would be cool with seeing him debut. I think that'd be fun. We'll see. At the very least, he's not necessary. We're not relying on him to come up and be some sort of cavalry to bail out, a complete disaster from somebody else in the rotation.
I'm looking at, just real quick, so he was picked in the first round in 2021.
Uh-huh.
And the other high school pitchers in that round, just this is just for context to give you an idea. And again, I already said it, this season has been disappointing. No question. But the greater context of this, so the other high school pitchers taken in that first round, Jackson Jobe, he got up to the majors, 12 games. He's then had Tommy John.
Yep.
Frank Mazzucato, who has not pitched in the majors yet. I'm sorry, Frank, if I have
the Royals
mispronounced your last name. Yes. Andrew Painter, Chase Petty, who's gotten to the majors and was not good, only for 3 starts. Let's see who else we got here. I mean, Maddox Bruns from the Dodgers. He has not gotten to the majors yet. Those are the only prep pitchers in the first round. How about second round? Yeah, I mean, there's the only other one that's made it to the majors is, none.
And some of the numbers for these pitchers are brutal too. Like it's not just like they're.
I'm just saying, as far as prep pitchers go, from the 2021 draft class, he's kind of about where everybody else is in that class. And that's not, again, we thought he was above that, and there were a lot of reasons to believe that, and the club believed that, I think, going into the season, but it's been a disappointment.
Yeah.
I still don't think that it has affected my outlook on him moving forward.
No, not at all.
And they're lucky that
Yeah.
even with it being a disappointment this season, it has not greatly affected their major league situation.
Absolutely.
Think about it. They have had Aaron Nola hasn't pitched since mid-May, and Andrew Painter has not been a factor in the majors, and still best or one of the best rotations in baseball.
Undoubtedly. It's a good spot to be in. All in all, I think this is a team to buy just because their play of late, while they're probably not going to win, 7 of every 8 games moving forward, nothing has really felt all that far afield. They're winning games, by doing what they've done earlier in this year. They've pitched well. And now what they've started to do is they've started to add in some hits late. For so long, this team was struggling with runners in scoring position, and there is still some of that. But you look at what they did in Texas and how they would tack on insurance runs and how they wouldn't, just kind of coast to the end of some of these games. Maybe coast is the wrong verb. But this is an offense that looks like it's hitting a bit of a stride here. Like something's looking pretty good. I don't know. I like this version of the team, obviously. I think there's something working with this group of players. Offensively, lineup-wise, the matchups are working. It looks good when the results are there. I'm sure there's still going to be another stretch where they hit a rough patch, and
I love when I have an idea and the numbers back it up. So since August 1st,
since August 1st,
since August 1st, the bottom third of the order, 7th, 8th, 9th, second best OPS in baseball, behind only the Milwaukee Brewers.
Bam.
And that lines up anecdotally with in the last 2-ish weeks, we've seen just more contributions, I think, especially from the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah. Look, it's good. There are certain things to be concerned about. Chief among them, Zack Wheeler's health. We'll see how he recovers during this week. But by and large, this team is playing well and looking like they are rounding into form at the right time. They have about 6 weeks to go. A few games with the Mets. Still
crazy. That's it. 45 games left.
I know. The middle of the summer really flew by with this season again. So we'll see how the rest of it goes. We'll see if they challenge that 95 win pace again, and maybe make September a little bit easier on themselves again. I don't know. I was not expecting that to be a conversation this year, but you got to get there first. So, with all that being said, Matt, since you're not in Cincinnati this week, what are we looking forward to with you? What are you looking forward to?
What am I doing?
what are you doing? What's up with you this week?
I'm going to take a little minor league trip. I won't tell you where or who I'm writing about, but I'll have a minor league story this week. It's whatever. Charlotte's going to go to DC. It's a 4-game series, and they have the Sunday morning game. Are you excited about that?
Is that the wake up, the Roku breakfast wake up? What do they call it? Rising? I don't know.
I would not be able to tell you what they call it, but it is the morning game, 11:30 on Sunday.
Great.
What's funny is that they're playing the Mariners a week from today, and those two teams are having very different Sundays. The Phillies are playing an 11:30 a.m. game in DC, and then taking a train back and getting home before dinner time. And the Mariners are playing Sunday night in Williamsport against the Mets, and then coming to Philly after that.
Oh, the Little League Classic. That's right. It's called the MLB Sunday Leadoff on the Roku mobile app.
First time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, sure.
I legitimately do not know how to watch that game on Sunday.
You can watch it through MLB TV. That's the confusing part of it. It's branded as Roku, but I'm able to watch it through MLB TV. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm drifting into getting ornery and cantankerous about broadcast things again. That's not the way I want to end this. No, this was a good. I wonder
if T-Mac might be doing that game, because they usually use like. I should ask him, but yeah, he might be doing that game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would be good. All right, great. So that's the week ahead. I look forward to sounding like my normal self again and having my nose fully unstuck.
You sound fine.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you buy this podcast, ? You can do that in a way by going I'm going to roll with it by going to patreon.com/Phillies Therapy, where for $5 a month, you can support us in our quest to put variations of our logo onto pieces of merch, which we also offer through a Fourth Wall site. The link is on the Patreon page. We thank all of you who have supported us over the last few months, and even those of you who don't support us monetarily but continue to listen. Thank you very much. You all rock very hard. We'll be back again next week, hopefully in as jovial of a mood. We'll see how these next couple series go. The Reds can be pesky. And that'll be that. Yeah, okay, great. Vamping is over. Thank you very much for listening to Phillies Therapy, part of the Believe Podcast Network. For Matt, I am Paul. We'll catch you next time.
High Five Casino is the top choice for social casino gaming that's free to play. With chances to win and redeem for real cash prizes, free spin rewards, and tons of exclusive games, you can experience more high five moments than ever before. You're going to want to high five everyone. The neighbors, the mailman, all your coworkers, of course your friends. Well, you get the point. Your high five moment awaits at highfivecasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply.